I love talking to filmmakers about filmmaking. And this past week and a half, I've been doing one-on-one onboarding calls with the filmmakers that have signed up for the Filmmaker Retreat Joshua Tree. It's September 25th. You leave the morning of the 28th with a plan, with actionable steps on how to get your career to the next level. I'm going to share all my tips and tricks and voodoo, and you're going to network and meet like-minded filmmakers. And there's a ton of activities that we've got planned. There's a showcase, there's a case study, there's camaraderie, which is one of my favorite things. It's probably the main reason I do it. I love being an accessible mentor, and I love learning from other filmmakers. I have an appetite for knowledge that I get hanging around other filmmakers. If you're interested, DM me. Let's start the show.
It's time for Respect the Process, a short chat about commercial filmmaking. Here's your host, Director Jordan Brady.
Well, thank you, Helen. July 30th, the end of July 2025, Gabriel Shalom returns to the podcast. That's right, Helen. It's been like 4 or 5 years. It might have been pre-pandemic. I don't remember, but I do remember it was a good one. Well, we talk about the rapidly changing world of production, agencies and brands, agencies doing production, brands having in-house production. What does that mean for us as filmmakers and creative people? Of course, we have to talk about the effects and the impact of AI on our careers and advertising in general. And what we really hit on is what production companies can do and what you as a filmmaker or creative person can do to propel your own career. And spoiler alert, it's original content. I have found, and I say this about the retreat because we're going to dive into that at the retreat, like what is that passion project? When you make stuff for yourself, and it's very Rick Rubin-esque, Helen, you make it for yourself, you like it. If the audience likes it, great. But 9 times out of 10, when you make something that you're happy with, other people connect to it. So we talk about personal experiences, trends in the industry, and practical advice for thriving in today's creative landscape. Whew. I was on set last week, and the Magic Mind people had given me a crate full of Magic Mind Max because it's got 165 milligrams of time-released caffeine. And I was scared of it because I love the subtly sweet taste of the old school original recipe Magic Mind. I want you to use the code Brady20. It'll work on Magic Mind Max if you want the extra kick, or the original. Now, they do have caffeine free. It's called Magic Mind Free. I have not tried it because to me that's like a decaf espresso. It's like a radio-controlled submarine. You don't even see what you're doing. I'm sure it's great. I'm not knocking it, but if you want to get to that flow state, and you know anything about nootropics, and you want to get more done without the jitters, both of these Magic Mind formulas are great. So I tried the Magic Mind Max right before lunch, and it got me going without the jitters that you get from a triple espresso or a Red Bull. It kept me calm enough to be the leader I like to be on set, and my creativity juices were flowing. That's an honest-to-God tribute from yours truly. All the other stuff, the vitamins and the lion's mane and the ashwagandha and the green matcha, ceremonial grade, by the way, all of that is bonus. I like it. I guess it's the combo cocktail of all those things that really gets you going and gets you into the flow state, gives you clarity with a calmness. So try it out. The code is Brady20. And let me know what you think. If you don't like it, I'll buy it from you because I love the stuff. We do have seats left. They're not really seats, Helen. They're slots for the Filmmaker Retreat Joshua Tree, our 4th year. I've been doing these onboarding calls, and I learn what everyone is like wanting to do the direction they want to take their career. One filmmaker said, I just like going to workshops and retreats. I just like being around other people. And having done this 3 years in a row, this being the fourth, I have surrendered to the fact that the real magic is the community. And that Jeanette Godoy, my lovely and talented wife, and I are what the hippies call holding space for that to happen. And I think we're pretty good at it. So I'm really excited about that. Well, anyway, I'm gonna shut up, cue up the tape, Helen, of my conversation with Gabriel Shalom. I'm with Gabriel Shalom, my friend and returning to the podcast, and my guinea pig with the new Riverside recording studio, which every podcaster's been using for 10 years, but I'm just now hip to the game.
You're catching up. Yeah. It's fun to be back. It's, like 4 or 5 years ago or something?
Yeah, it was a while ago, and it was a very popular episode. We talked, you were at the forefront of emerging technologies and experimental video, I think we talked about.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Well, I'm excited to have you back because just the other day you did an Ask Me Anything, and I joined, and you were talking about strategy, positioning yourself, both as a director and as an agency and a creative person. And I thought we could all learn from you today, Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. It was really nice to see you there. And it was interesting how that played out because it was kind of a lesson for myself in my own marketing methodology. So when I was thinking about doing a webinar, like a free webinar, it was in the interest of trying to, offer something to the community and sort of also put myself out there as an agency owner, because years later, I'm an agency owner.
So tell us about that. What is the agency called? What are you specializing in? And aren't you in London right now, over in England?
Yes. So the agency is called Brave New Agency, and it is a creative strategy consultancy primarily, but it is sort of the umbrella group for a number of different production modalities. So depending on the client, it's a very flexible operation. I build bespoke teams on a project basis. I'm treating the agency very much the way I used to treat my production companies. So it's very much a black book approach in many ways.
What does that mean, black book approach?
So I know a lot of people. And I go into my address book and my networks, and I try to figure out who's the perfect person for this project. It's a different way of working. It must seem obvious in production to work that way because that's what we always do. We find the right director for the spot, or we find the right set designer for the storyboards or whatever. But
it's all relationships.
Yeah, it's all relationships, and the aesthetic piece matters. In advertising, traditionally, especially with like agency of record models, where an agency's getting paid a big fat chunk every month to do pretty much whatever the client wants, it's a little bit of a black box as opposed to a black book because you just sort of the management at the agency decides who to assign to this client work. And, the infamous kind of peril that agency folks face historically is if a client leaves, then everybody that's been on that client might be sacked because the way resources are distributed, they might not necessarily be working on anything else. So, but
the upside of that is, though, Gabe, is that is it okay if I call you Gabe instead of Gabriel every time? Okay.
Go for it.
Sometimes I've seen agency creatives, especially creative directors and ECDs, go to the new agency of record with the client because they're so familiar. Like the client goes, we love her, but we're leaving all of you.
That's true. That happens.
So I just wanted to put a silver lining to to that story. But what I'm understanding is your black book approach, similar to the production company model of like hiring freelancers for the project, the right director, the right DP, the right production designer, even the right line producer.
Yep.
Which means there's like my production company, True Gent, and listeners can learn more at truegent.tv. It's all a la carte black book, right? It's my EP partner, myself, and we gear up for the director, which is usually me, and you pick each personality. I like to cast the crew like I would actors for parts.
Yep.
So you're doing that with creatives. And I'm assuming that would include not just a copywriter, an art director, a creative director, but probably some sort of AI specialist.
Yep. It could be a synthographer. It could be a prompt engineer. It could be a automation specialist. It could just be something more pedestrian too in sort of the digital era. You know, it could be a Shopify expert or an email marketing person, you know, but pretty much whatever the client needs. And, you know, trying to specialize when you're starting up an agency can be a little daunting because you kind of need the work that you can get. I've been fortunate enough to focus a little bit, though. I have clients in the spirits vertical. So I have a client that does
booze, not like
booze, not ghosts.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's people listening that are like, "Wow, I didn't know that was a category."
Yeah. I mean, it's busiest around Halloween, so it's been a little bit dry. But yeah, yeah. So there's that, and then you know I also have clients in retail and e-commerce, so men's fashion, for instance.
So I think people that you knew you had worked with as a creative yourself, and you reached out and go, "Hey, I got this new agency."
So you know the clients come through the door in a lot of different directions. Some of it's just relationship building. Some of it's been through LinkedIn, funny enough, like meeting interesting people. I think there's a weird, what me and a couple of friends of mine, colleagues, call weird LinkedIn. Like if you haven't found weird LinkedIn yet, you know, go looking for it. It's out there. Cause there's people on LinkedIn who don't take the platform at face value and do crazy stuff on there. And I think, you know, I applaud them for like, it's kind of like, I don't know. I have a hard time separating LinkedIn from Microsoft. I mean, like who owns it? You know, like it's a certain type of corporate aesthetic that is very, like, if you're not creative, you might not think about what I'm saying at all. And if you are creative, you're like, yeah, that's why I don't spend any time on LinkedIn.
Well, it's interesting, Gabriel, that I'm probably weird LinkedIn adjacent. Like, you know, they have, if someone gets a job, they'll post this little meme that LinkedIn provides for you, and it's a bunch of balloons, and one's a happy balloon that goes up. So I downloaded that, and using various tools, old school Photoshop, Premiere, and some new AI, I made a sad balloon that dropped down.
Nice.
And spoofed that meme and said, you know, didn't get the job.
Yeah, no, it's good. You are weird on LinkedIn, Jordan, for sure.
Oh, thank you for that stamp of approval. But my point is that I thought it was a very popular post, but not taken at the comedy level. It was taken at face value that, hey, sorry, go get him. You'll get another one. Wasn't meant to be. And I'm like, no, it's a joke. I'm cool. I've been doing this a long time. I have rhino skin. I'm not really a sad balloon. And there was another component to that, which was I present a lot of happiness, positivity, and wins, right? And I thought, well, I have to temper it with I'll share a loss. That's the era we're in. People are vulnerable, and authentic is a buzzword that comes up. So I'll put something on LinkedIn that says, hey, I don't win every job I pitch, and made the sad balloon, which was a creative exercise. But again, the number of people that were like, hey, buddy, stick it out, stick with it. You're going to make it. I thought, well, maybe that's the problem with my humor. It's just too dry.
I don't know. I mean, you also don't know how many. I mean, I'm sure you have quite a legitimate audience, and at the same time, knowing what you know about bot traffic on the internet, you don't know how many of those comments were robots just doing sentiment analysis and being like, "Oh,
Wow.
I should, tell Jordan it's going to be okay," because that would be the right thing to say in this moment. I don't know.
But that could be a bot that has some sort of weird, like a fake name, a fake profile from
Sure.
a
Easy.
Lithuanian marketer with a profile picture, and they're giving me hugs.
Easy. Yeah.
Bursting my bubble.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it's there's a lot of strange, uncanny things you can experience. Like one of the things that happened to me recently, I was on Instagram maybe a little past my bedtime, and I got served this completely obnoxious animated Instagram ad, and it was like a no holds barred script that was really obnoxious and like in your face. And I was like, what is this? And I looked at the account, and there were more of them, all in the same style. I was like, this is really kind of gross and weird, but compelling at the same time. Anyway, it's like learn AI filmmaking for $5. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll pay the $5 just to see what's behind the curtain. I'm curious because this thing is like, it's got a weird, sassy kind of energy. And I get behind the curtain. I ended up paying $32, of course, because it's a subscription. Anyway, I get behind the curtain. The whole thing is a multi-level marketing scheme. And the whole idea is the guy has basically templatized his shocking videos to teach people how to make those shocking videos for commission, whatever. It's a course about making courses, So much of that's out there at this point. I mean, people talk about the dead internet theory of how all the content is going to become AI generated, and so there's going to be less human activity on social media. But I think we're going to enter into maybe some sort of dead economic period too, where like, not a recession, but like there'll probably be a recession too, but that's another story. But I think there'll be a world in which a lot of, especially e-commerce, is this automated thing. Like I won't be surprised if it's already happening that there is a fully agentic e-commerce business that comes to be, that is run by one person, that makes, millions and millions of dollars, through some elaborate scheme, basically. I mean, it's,
I got an email this morning.
Yeah.
AI bots now will run everything, your e-commerce, your shopping, your spreadsheets. And the article boasted, or the author boasted, of a 45% accuracy, which I find quite low.
Yeah, that's quite awful, actually. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of the firms that have downsized because of the promises of AI agents have had to try to then, crawl back and rehire the people they fired. And it's because, agents are very, very inaccurate at doing anything that, knowledge workers should be doing. I've kind of, with the agency, positioned myself as sort of, I'm hedging. Basically, I'm doing something that, people do in financial markets with creativity in a way. So on the one hand, I'm saying, yes, please come to me. I will help you with your bleeding edge technological creative problems. No worries. I got you, whether it's robotics or AI or agents, let's talk. I've got a thick network on those topics, and I'm very well informed, and let's make something really cool and edgy happen. No problem. And at the same time, I'm deeply invested in things that are offline, that are analog, that are experiential, that are high quality, low frequency, because the AI slop is generating a ton of noise, and there's no reason for most brands to try to compete with that. If the brands I'm interested in working with anyway, rise above that on some level, and shouldn't nor could they really fully automate their marketing. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah, you just touched on something, Gabe, that I've been thinking about since really late 2023, as I was watching AI and experimenting.
Yeah.
It's that the more things become AI and automated and in our face, and the AI slop we've talked about on the podcast. I was actually a guest on another podcast entitled AI Slop. The podcast wasn't, the episode was. I feel humans are going to want more experiences. You know, maybe not everything's the Coachella level, but festivals, gatherings, special nights, which give agencies a chance to infuse it with marketing at the level of a Coachella. Smaller events will have a bigger advertising presence or marketing presence, and that's, I love it. I love a slick booth at a trade show.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some of those. Frankfurt Auto Fair. Yeah, well, back when I was directing and producing, I also was I did, like, one of the bigger projects I did in Germany was for the Frankfurt Auto Fair. As part of their for Mini Cooper. It's part of their
they call
booth.
it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, I made that up. Do they call it FAF?
No, they
Auto Fair.
They call it.
Not even German.
Yeah, I forget what they call it. The Frankfurt Motor Show in English. I think in German they call it something I can't remember. So yeah, but then I did a really crazy activation a couple of years ago for the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, where we had a robotic cat, and we hired a Hollywood creature. We had a Hollywood creature artist give it blue fur, and the creative director was on site controlling it with remote control. We had a team of about 30 people supporting it with social media, paid media, influencers, front of house, back of house. It was like a whole thing. User generated content. Did 55 million plays on TikTok in 10 days.
I'm sorry, you said 55 million.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a hit.
It was a hit. It would still be around, but it was the era of experimentation and then quick kill-offs of innovation teams. Because 2023 somehow was a year where there was a lot of crazy stuff happening, and then multiple different corporates decided to pull the plug on the cool stuff they were doing that summer. So it was a flash in the pan, but it was a very bright flash.
Wow. I'm trying to go back to 2023, and maybe they all ran to buy their Naked Ape NFTs or whatever those were at that time.
I mean, it's funny you should mention NFT because the product was actually a blockchain-related thing, and I think that's part of what we were seeing go down in flames that year was, like, finally the hype cycle around, blockchain-related stuff was starting to get a little bit too, like overdone, overblown. So, but yeah, I think I like to say that events are the original social media, because there's nothing more social than being face to face with another human being, and word of mouth is really the way that the most social content travels. Most people don't know this, but for instance, when an Instagram reel is very popular, its popularity is really a coefficient of how frequently it's shared in the DMs between two different people.
Yeah.
And this is a behavior that, that has allowed the industry to sort of identify reels as its own language. Because we've all got an inbox like that. Everybody's got an inbox with some friend of theirs or acquaintance where the only thing...
My wife and I.
Yeah, the only thing you're saying to each other is basically... You're not even saying anything. You're just sharing reels and then maybe emoji commenting on what you thought about them. And with some people, that's the entire exchange. But that actually creates a ton of velocity for that content. So, it's very interesting to be able to. We talk about multimodal AI, but we don't appreciate that we've been communicating in a multimodal way for a very long time now.
Oh my gosh, Korg, Nanook, and Mimu around the fire back in the caveman days. That was the original social media.
Yeah, I love those names too.
Don't ask me to repeat them because that was fresh off the dome. Nanook I've probably done before. Korg is my go-to caveman name.
Korg's great because I always think of like the Korg synthesizer. So I just see this
yeah.
bright red keyboard sitting there with the rest of them.
It's Key Rock, Your Honor. Okay, so let me go back to where if I was a polished interviewer, I would have gotten this in sooner. Why start an agency? Like, what was your desire? Did you wake up one day? Were you in the bathtub? Were you on a run? And you go, I got to do it.
Okay.
And part two of the question, and I asked you this on the Ask Me Anything you so nicely hosted. Aren't you going to do production as well? Like, it seems that the future is agencies are already doing production in-house, production that's capable and has a deep black book can now offer creative. I have clients coming to me directly the last 2 years. They've got a seed of an idea. We flesh it out and we execute. So part one was, where were you in the shower or whenever why you want an agency, and then part two.
Yeah. Well, so a little bit of lore about why it's called Brave New Agency is
Yes.
For about 8 years, I worked on a television show concept, and inside the container of that show, Brave New Agency was a fictitious part of the story world.
Gotcha.
So I decided to make it a real company.
But in the TV show, was it evil?
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
Yes, it was. So this is one of the interesting things about making it a real company is I've kind of challenged myself to figure out how I can do something good with it. And I'll tell you, I haven't figured that out yet. I don't think advertising's that good. I mean, it's good to do advertising, don't get me wrong. But I think, there's a brand strategist named Eugene Healy. He's a young man from Australia. He's very well-spoken, and he's incredibly articulate and intelligent. And he's correctly identified recently that there's something deeply disingenuous about brands trying to do good in the world. We always kind of knew it was just a way for them to sort of
virtue signaling.
Virtue signal, yeah. But in a way, he's saying like they should stop. And there's other actors and or other departments of companies than their marketing department that should be investing in positive change if they're going to do that at all. And I kind of like where he's coming from with that, because I've kind of come to a similar conclusion about the industry in general, which is that my desire to do good is still there. It's real, but it's not. Phew. But I'm not putting it into my agency work. Like I'm doing the agency to earn money. That's actually something I realized I have in common with my clients. We're both making advertising to make money. They're doing it to make money for the company. I'm doing it to make money for my company. So we have that in common, and that's not a bad thing. It's fine to make money. I just think that the ethical drive that I have to do good in the world, I'm putting that energy into my own original IP, where I don't have a client and I can say what I want. So that's kind of how I've solved that. But why I started the agency, aside from it being fun to kind of bring fiction into reality, is that I spent a year working at Meta, and I was.
And they're good, and their desire to do good inspired you?
No comment. I think it was more that I saw the industry from a very, very unique perspective. And I saw the opportunity space very clearly by the time I got out of there. I was there for a year. And during the time I was there, I was advising major advertisers who were spending 6, 7, 8 figures on the platform, which is amazing and crazy. And what I got to see as a result of that vantage point was I got to see inside, dozens and dozens of in-house marketing teams. I got to see inside dozens of agencies, not only creative agencies, but also media buying agencies. Mm-hmm. I got to understand the creator landscape in a much broader way than I had prior, because I got to see multiple different sorts of creators being engaged on different sorts of projects at different price points. And I was also, spread across, my book of business was spread across, Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, the DACH region, because I speak fluent German, as well as the UK market. So I saw a lot of different types of companies in different industries doing a lot of different things, and seeing a lot of people do a lot of the same stuff wrong, which is why I was speaking with them, because, I was there to kind of help them optimize their ad spend. But that was just a lot of really deep intelligence about like, where are we really at with the ad economy? So when I came out of that, I thought, well, I can start an agency now, because I don't think I would have had the gumption prior to that level of understanding, because I think when what I saw inside of that team, I was on the creative shop team, is that, from that point of view, what I had been doing previously as a director just seemed like, for lack of a better metaphor, it seemed like the ant climbing up the anthill, And from the perspective of doing creative strategy inside of Creative Shop, it was like seeing the entire terrarium, seeing the fishbowl next to the terrarium, seeing the cactus, like seeing the whole picture. And so, yeah, it was sort of like, if I want to do that work, that hands-on directing and writing and creative work, I really want to put it into my own projects primarily. And that's why I kind of see creative strategy as the primary offering of my agency, with production as kind of not an afterthought, but just like if you get serious as one of my clients. Yeah, because that's the other thing. I don't really, now that I understand a more fundamental relationship between strategy, creative, and production, I can do production for clients, and I do still. I have one of my biggest clients right now is a pure synthographic production product. But
I don't know what synthographic. I don't know what that word means.
So it's an entirely AI synthesized set of deliverables. It's like key art for an out-of-home campaign. Yeah, and they're all the hundreds of them are all just AI. So I'll gladly take work on that's like that. But fundamentally, if I want to create a real transformation for one of my clients, the strategy piece is critical, because I could spend easily a couple of months with a client just doing strategy work, just doing minor adjustments, almost like like touching pressure points, to figure out how their team works, figure out what issues they have. Maybe they have organic and paid siloed inside of their organization. That's a pretty common problem. And it's a problem because best practice is to make paid ads feel like they're organic content. So if your organic team and your paid team don't talk to each other, that's actually a real oversight, because the organic team's probably learning at an extremely rapid pace what works on the platform, and not sharing any of their insight with the paid team, who's managing these massive budgets and often are scratching their heads about what to do with their next ad creative. So that's one of the diagnostic things I do often with clients, is kind of figure out their team structure, figure out who's talking to who, and how to help them see each other more clearly and from a strategic point of view. But there could be all kinds of other things, localization's another big challenge that I help clients with, figuring out how to version their campaigns across different markets. There's also the problem that a lot of these teams, because we've been talking about this trend of brand teams internalizing a lot of the functions that used to happen in agencies. One of the things they generally don't do, though, is they don't bring in that senior executive creative director. They usually build these creative teams with juniors and senior marketing people, maybe. But very infrequently do you see an ECD level of creative direction inside of a brand team. That's not in certain verticals. Like high fashion is a great exception. Like if you look inside the teams,
it's an exception.
It's a likely exception to what I'm saying, because they have such an aesthetic product that it's sensible for them to bring a really well-known talent in as their creative director, and there's even press releases from major fashion houses about the next big deal creative director they brought on. Some musicians have even made that transition, like
Pharrell.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a space where that sort of bucks that trend, and that's actually one reason I'm interested in working in fashion, because I think they just fundamentally get creativity on a different level when the product is so aesthetically minded. But your average, say, e-commerce brand that's scaled, that's spending, say, millions or tens of millions of dollars on Facebook ads or Instagram ads, they very well may be spending all that money and not have an executive creative director level of creative leadership inside their team.
And therefore, the ads don't work as well because they're not hitting. And if I'm following this, sometimes the people that are boots on the ground with the ads aren't communicating with the people doing the strategy.
Well, they're not. Yeah, I mean, this is the other question. So there may be a senior creative leader missing from an in-house brand team, in which case, hey, let's talk. Because that's kind of what.
Let's talk to brand new agency.
Yeah. But then the other dimension of it is, do they even have a strategist on their team? A lot of the time the answer is no. So,
you know what's interesting?
yeah.
The just to interject, I had an experience recently. Somebody reached out. This has happened twice in the last 7 months. I've been on a Zoom with someone who had a lead, and they're pitching, like, we'll do this kind of video. And they're coming to me to execute the video. And like, you help us flesh it out. And I actually point out to them that they're not ready to hire me or my competitors because there's no big idea that this video you want to do is serving. Like, I don't think you're going to win that account by pitching a video or series of videos, because what purpose do they serve? So I'll take the money and I'll produce it. And like you, my goodness goes into passion projects. So I'll services. I famously have said I'll sell vape pens to orphans if it's a good script and a solid budget. And then I'll take the money and do, a PSA for sick kids. Do the good with the money I make. So I get it that people, there's something sexy about production in any form that people gravitate to. But I think, you have to do the work and plan out why. This is why a lot of times we'll say, God bless the agency, because they've aligned the strategy with the client before they get to production.
Right.
And I'm fearful for many production companies. You've seen them. They're in, you could be anywhere now. You don't have to be in the big cities. But the agency does everything. And conversely, or likewise, the production company does everything. Scripting, ideation, production, post-production, casting, voiceover. I mean, and to me, it's ridiculous. And pardon me if your website says all this stuff, Gabe.
No, I'm just taking it in. No, I think you're right. I mean, there's a chronic issue in the creative industries about lack of specialization. Because if you're indistinguishable from another competitor, you're a vendor. You're not
going to compete on price.
Yeah, and nobody wants to. Nobody wins. Nobody on this podcast wants to be competing on price. So, how do you distinguish yourself? Otherwise, I do think it's brand first, and then secondly, what is your brand standing for? In my case, it's really, brave new agency, because we're brave in the sense we're willing to take briefs for things that no one else will touch or even know how to do. I mean, I'm currently exploring a RFP for a large-scale animatronic bird of prey. I won't be specific which kind.
Wow.
But, that's not something every shop can handle. And at the same time, I've got stuff that's like, we are building the plane as we are flying it. We're developing an AI workflow that we haven't tried before, that the client's never seen before, that the agency partner that we're working with has never seen before. And we're not scared to do that and deliver, a significant budget project on that basis, because we are professionals. We know how to take it to the finish line. In AI, there's a lot of hacks right now who have taught themselves tools that have only existed for 6 months to a year and are claiming a high level of expertise. And while they may know those tools inside out, before that, they might have been doing something like walking dogs or, cutting hair or something. And it's like, good for you.
Yeah.
Like, no shade, really. I love ambition. We've all been there at different points in our career, but like, call a spade a spade. If you're trying to close a 6-figure marketing budget for a multi-platform social media driven ad campaign, your experience walking dogs is probably not going to be that relevant. And
there are exceptions. I mean, before I was a director, I was a popular in-demand underwear model.
There you go.
I made the pivot. The thing, it's interesting because, like, Higgsfield, as of this recording, is one of my favorite platforms for AI.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this combo of live action with AI inserts, and I recently did AI people reacting to live action. And they're, I'm just doing them on the phone and as experimentations and a proof of theory. And I see people mastering that, but the plug and play AI, whether it's a robotic camera move or bullet time or the Tokyo zoom, sort of a dolly zoom thing, once those are plug in off the shelf, then anybody can do them. Then the dog walker may have to go back to dog walking.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, Gabe, I see in the morning, it's a brilliant piece. It's like not even 10 seconds. An IKEA box is in an empty bedroom. It explodes, and the room is filled. And I'm like, wow, that is so cool. Someone tinkered and made it, and they probably did. Later in the afternoon, I see a case of Corona beer on the beach explode, and now it's a beach party. It's the same bit.
Well, I mean, maybe you haven't seen I don't know, I've seen probably 12 different versions of the IKEA ad too by now. The 8-second VO3 IKEA prompt, we should say, because really,
I saw the guy posted that.
Yeah,
and watched his iterations.
Yeah,
but my point is, it's like the trend of gorillas vlogging is now the shelf life is shortening as these things become more ubiquitous.
So I have a theory about that too.
Yes, please.
So okay, so you could say, like, this became pretty clear to me, like even last year I was thinking about this because of what I kind of knew I knew some of this stuff was coming before the general public knew it was coming. So one of the things that I was thinking was like, okay, so you'll see this a lot, by the way, from these recent AI upskillers, let's call them. They'll do something like, oh, look at this spec ad I made for Gucci, or look at this spec ad I made for Gucci is a good example, I guess. Like a high fashion runway, fashion brand that your average person doesn't get to work on. Like most people don't get to do Gucci ads, right? So now here's this person who is pretty much an outsider to the industry doing what they think should be a passable Gucci ad. And it's very likely ripping off Gucci aesthetics that cost millions to achieve last season or whatever, maybe even last week, depending, right? Because you see how fast the prompt craft goes. Like this IKEA thing is exploding as we speak. So here's the thing that I think is interesting about all that is that it's kind of like we've been here. Okay, so we've been here before culturally with music. And it was the Napster era. And basically there were two sides to that. There was the very obstreperous, very copyright-focused side that was represented by the band Metallica, who was ready to sue young people for pirating their songs. And then there was this guy, good old Lawrence Lessig, who started Creative Commons, who tried to open people up to the idea that if you would enable people to remix your work, you might get better reach and better traction with a wider audience because of the remixes, and that if you would license your work under Creative Commons, you would kind of be giving people a carte blanche to do that with your work without having to request your permission explicitly, and thereby drive your overall notoriety beyond your own audience and your own capabilities. I think we're there with brands now. So I think, this IKEA thing is not an official IKEA ad, we should say. It's like fan fiction of what an IKEA ad could be. But it is nonetheless bearing the actual IKEA logo. And there are plenty of people on LinkedIn especially who are not particularly scrupulous calling it an IKEA ad, not an IKEA spec ad. And so the overall resonance in the market, even despite its inauthenticity, is going to have a halo effect for the IKEA brand.
IKEA wins.
IKEA wins pretty much no matter what, even if IKEA's primary recourse after all the dust settles is to come out with a campaign based on this idea that's shot for proper money with a proper crew at a level that's above and beyond this silly 8-second, demo ad. Because if you watch it, and I've watched it like at least dozens of times, frame by frame, it's very, very poor. It's very, very poor. It only really works if you watch it a couple times. If you really examine it and you have any experience with VFX or motion graphics, you see all these seams that would never in a million years pass creative review, not in a million years. So
but the common person doesn't care. my soapbox, I recently saw a spec AI liquid death ad where the
Oh yeah.
cop pulls over the kid and it's got dark humor and it's really funny and it looks great. And I posted and then I deleted because I don't want to be negative and trash somebody's work, spec or not. Like I just don't want that in my psyche that I'm posting negative shit. So I had it up for like 3 seconds. I go, no, let them have their moment. But it's not on point with the brand.
Nope.
And the quality was actually better than a Liquid Death spot. As far as
Yep.
they have this real campy sort of, it's a sitcom-y vibe in what they shoot, and they have Travis Barker's blood in.
Well, and they have a
something,
really lean team. Like I saw a job, I just saw a producer job floating around for Liquid Death's in-house team recently, and it was very interesting to read that ad because you could see between the lines the way that it was spec'd was, if you join this team, you're going to be extremely hands-on. You're probably going to be working really hard, and we do most of our stuff in-house. And it was like, okay, all right, yeah. So the guy that made the spec ad about the cop and his son and his birthday, like, yeah. Missed the brief there, right? And that was sort of my reaction to it too. Is like, this is great storytelling. It's visually spectacular. It's executed at an extremely high level of craft for what AI can do today, and at the same time, it would never pass creative review, and it's completely off-brand. But I think what we start to understand there, and this is going to tie back to something you said a little earlier. You said that when these sort of these fast and loose clients come to you and they're like, can you help us develop this video? And you're like, well, guys, you don't have a big idea driving this yet. So honestly, no, not yet. I would go one step further and I would say it's actually not just a big idea anymore. So it's a system of ideas approach, that you need a system of ideas. If you're going to be doing social media marketing, especially, a singular monolithic TV commercial style big idea is the old way of doing things, and it's not that
it's not relevant.
It is relevant if you're doing TV.
No, but I mean globally to your brand's positioning, it's not relevant in that what works on TV, and we've known this for a decade of your commercial chopped into social isn't necessarily going to perform as well.
It doesn't. No.
Yeah.
And there's an unbelievable amount of ad inventory purchased every month on social to run cut downs that we know underperform. And we don't just know it a little bit, we know it hard. Like, we have great statistics about how bad it is. But it's also not something you need to prove with numbers. If you show it to a Gen Z and you say, hey, look at this, they're just going to swipe right past it. It reads as television reformatted for social. It doesn't read correctly. So we know
I
this.
I did one of those last summer where it was TV shot only for social, but as TV, and the stuff we did on Sunday afternoon with an iPhone dwarfed the performance-wise, just dwarfed it.
Yeah, and it'll continue to overperform in that way. So that's another thing I help clients with, is like diversifying their creative approach so that they're not just operating on one idea. I mean, it's also kind of common sense. It's funny that people don't realize this at this point. It's like, think about other arenas in which you de-risk your portfolio strategy, right? Like, if you're an investor, you don't just invest in one stock, it's like betting on multiple horses in the same race. That's
a great analogy.
Yeah.
Both the financial and the horse one.
Yeah.
Now, Gabriel, we have to wrap up. The show is 45 minutes, and we could talk for hours, you and I. Tell us where people should go to find the agency.
Yes, it's bravenewagency.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the only thing I would plug, aside from the agency, is that my real passion these days is in writing episodic drama. In fact, that's what's behind me on the whiteboard. That's my beat sheet for my pilot.
Oh my goodness! Now, if I put a video clip and people zoom in, they might steal your idea, but it is a little out of focus.
I would love that. If anybody, this is a challenge to the AI community. Okay, I dare you, try to take those beats off the whiteboard and turn them into a little AI video and post it and say, this is related to, Gabriel's TV project. I would love that. Please give me the extra attention.
For the very reason that IKEA is winning from the spec ad.
Yes.
Fan fiction.
if someone is able to decipher my beats from my whiteboard and make a fan fiction, I almost want to just like give them a kiss. It's just like, that is amazing. How did you do that? Become part of my team. Tell me your secrets. That's kind of my attitude, because really, this tight white knuckled grip that people have on their brands, it's embodied in that same spirit, I think. Now, nonetheless, like, there will be an official version. So
I love it.
Look out
Now,
for that. Yeah.
I don't remember your answer to our final question years back, and neither do you, but here's how we end the show. Gabe, what does respect the process mean to you?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a left field one on this time. So for me, that phrase in my life these days really is a spiritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the sense of trusting that there are things happening out there that are not in your control. So I'll tell you a little story about that. So I have 2 shows that are in development right now. The one that's on that whiteboard, and then another one. The other show was inspired by a TED Talk. I heard this TED Talk. I was living in Queens in New York City a couple of years ago. I heard this TED Talk. I thought, man, the thing this woman's talking about is really important. It should be amplified. I have like a idea of how I could tell a story that would get more people aware of her issues. So I wrote a little treatment for a show based on that. And then it's set in Scotland, okay? And it's about a family. It's about a dynasty, actually. And so when I moved to the UK, I thought to myself, I bet there's a real family out there that's kind of like this family that I'm writing about. I haven't done my research, so just throw it into deep research on Gemini, whatever. See what comes up.
Yeah.
Turns out absolutely there's a Scottish family that is very, very bears a good resemblance to my fictitious one, and it turns out that one of my clients knows the son. Okay, but it gets better.
The law of attraction.
Gets better. I start telling this story. I have office space in Shoreditch, and it's a co-working space. People come in and out. There was a guy visiting from Barcelona. We got on like a house on fire. I was telling him a little bit about my projects. Told him I had this project in the works that was inspired by this TED Talk, and he's like, "Oh, that lady? Oh, she sits on our board."
No way.
Yeah. So I don't know why that's happening to me. I don't know. It's just that I tell these stories, I find myself in alignment, and somehow I trust it. So that's how I trust the process. Is I just say, like, if I'm following my heart and my sense of ethics, I don't really have to question it. I can just proceed one baby step at a time and watch this immaculate thing unfold in front of me. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Wow, that is one of the best answers and stories I've heard regarding respecting the process. I'm very much in tune with expecting, not relying on, but expecting happy accidents and connections. People call it manifestation, but I think it's more being open and being present to what you want to happen, because I could never predict the connection someone's going to make for me. What you just said, I could never in a million years think my buddy is going to know the farmer and hook us up, and I'm going to be shooting what I had done a treatment for 3 months prior.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, that's why
your story's great.
The slug line for my entertainment production company, yet to be founded, is stories are prototypes of the future. Because that's how it works.
Stories are prototypes for the future. Yes.
Yeah, that's how it works. You tell something. The very act of speaking the words helps to reify the thing you're talking about. So that's, yeah. Whether you call it manifestation or not, it really works that way.
Oh man, that's another podcast that maybe we need to start. We'll do a weekly chat on that. Gabe, thanks so much. I'm going to put links at jordanbrady.com. They'll be in the show notes. You're going to send me a piece of work you want me to post with the blog.
Cool.
And thanks everybody for listening. Gabe, thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Jordan. It's been a real blast.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
cheers. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, man.
Commercial Directing Film School's mission is to help filmmakers direct commercials professionally. With online courses and in-person boot camps, we demystify the process to get you to the next level, all taught by your accessible mentor, filmmaker Jordan Brady.
True Gentleman Industries. We make commercials.